The Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass. Where we make it happen, grab your seat, let's have a blast. At the Entrepreneurial Journey podcast.
If you love the entrepreneurial journey, how about subscribing and giving us a 5-star review? Wherever you get your podcasts, follow or subscribe and give us a positive review so more entrepreneurs out there don't need to feel alone. Thanks. Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. Today I have Elizabeth or Liz Okoh with me, who is an author, photographer and all-round amazing creative. Hi Liz, how are you today?
Hi, I'm fine. Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
I'm beyond excited. So when I look for podcast guests in the entrepreneurial space, I look for people who are doing something a bit different, a bit unusual, or doing something in an unusual way. And I came across you, and you've written a book. You're in the middle or coming towards the end of an exhibition. You're an amazing photographer of different genres, different styles. And I just thought I have to interview this woman and find out what makes her tick. So where does all this amazing creativity come from?
Oh my gosh, it's my head. And they need to stop because every single point I'm working on one project is like I have 3, 5 more lined up and it's never ending,
Right.
which I think is a blessing because sometimes you hear about artists having blocks and waiting for inspiration. I feel to just be blessed with too many inspiration. But it comes from life all around me, really. So I'm inspired by everything around me and experiences as well. And just observing, people and society. So it comes from all of that.
Oh, that's cool. At what point did you realize you could make a living out of this?
I would say maybe my second year of university. So at that point, I didn't think I was a creative or would never regard myself as someone who had the talent. Interestingly enough, I did creative things as hobbies, but because I just done them ever since I was a teenager, it was just that old thing I did. I
Right.
didn't think much about it. But in my second year of university, I found this job vacancy on my university's website. And I sort of told myself, you know what, I've always flirted with this idea, like, oh, in another life, wouldn't it? Because I always loved reading so
Ah,
much and just admired like writers and how they could just, bring, these stories to life or transport you to other places. And so I always had this sort of idea like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing? Maybe in another life I could be a writer. So I always had that like secret desire or so. And so when I saw that job vacancy, I was like, well, the worst they can say is no, right?
yeah, yeah.
I just put an application in and see what happens. Maybe they wouldn't even get back to me. Interestingly enough, they did. I went through several the process of sending my work in and giving me a test to come up with a creative story idea, having an interview, and at the end of it all I got that job. And this
Amazing.
is me at university. Before I got that writing job, I would earn maybe £50 a week from like a
Right.
part-time supermarket job I had on campus. But all of a sudden I was being paid like £800 for what I was doing. I was like, what? And
Whoa.
now that's not, when you're an adult, that's not a lot of money, but a student
Yeah,
earning £800 per month, that was a
yeah,
lot to me. And I couldn't believe it was just by creating, these fictional stories from my head. And I was like, oh, okay. If a company who doesn't know me, is not my family or anything, they are
yeah,
paying me to write, then I must be somewhat good.
yeah,
And that's what started to build my confidence. And then I just started to dive deeper and look within and see, what else can I do? How can I create a living for myself through it? Photography again was always a hobby. I never considered myself a photographer, but I was just always interested in taking pictures of events happening in my life and just documenting, my experiences. And I was like, wait a minute, Maybe I should take that seriously. Maybe I should, learn how to, do it properly and see how that pans out. And yeah, it's just been uphill from there.
Yeah, I love that early success. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That will have given you a huge amount of confidence. And I love your point about, it wasn't just my friends and family going to like it. Because, yeah, you're right. There's that point in every business where complete strangers buy what you're doing. Like, oh, okay, this must definitely be right or be working. Or, yeah,
Yeah,
no, I love
it's like
that.
they're not doing it because they're trying to be nice because they're my
Yeah,
friend. Oh, let me just support her, my family. Let's, just show her some support. But it's like, no, absolute strangers that have no, loyalty to me. They're actually paying me their money
yeah.
to do this. So, yeah.
It's cool. Your photography is beautiful. It's very striking. You have a real
Okay.
style to it. I can't even put my finger on what the style is, but it is very striking. Um, did you get any formal training in that, or is that all self-taught?
All self-taught again,
Right.
because I had been just, what we call in photography, point and shoot. You just see a
Yeah.
subject, you click. That's what I was doing ever since I was 14 when I found the camera at home. So it was at the point in 2017, I just finished writing my first book and I was like, okay, that's out of the way. I have some time. It's time to like, actually develop my skills in photography much more and see if I could actually, do this professionally and not just as fun as a hobby. And
Mm.
so I literally, what they say, the Academy of YouTube. So I just went
Yeah.
on YouTube and just started watching tons of videos. I had bought a DSLR camera as well, which was like my first professional camera. I got a book that was dedicated on, learning how to use the settings and composing and all of that on it because I've always loved school and academics. So I learned in that way where it was almost like a textbook where there
Right.
was the content. It was like, okay, this is the introduction. This is the different parts of your camera. This is how to set it. This is how to like, think about the professional modes. So I was coming out of using the automatic button for like 3 years, which I feel so, embarrassed by. And like, okay, now, no, you need to really learn what the shutter speed does, what the aperture
Right.
does, what the ISO is, and learning the interconnection between those three, points. And yeah, so I'm completely self-taught,
Wow.
but along the way, in the last 2 years, because self-taught, so I was just using natural lights to like do it because that was cheap for me, and that also meant I
Mm.
didn't need to depend on anyone. But because I want to now develop my skills in using studio lights and like speed lights, so I've been to like 2 or 3 workshops in the last few years just to like improve on that as well.
Yeah, there's a richness to your photography. The colors are very rich and quite deep and striking. I really like it. Now you do. I want to talk about your exhibition in a moment, but first, I feel we have to talk about the boudoir photography.
Mm.
It is sexy.
It
It's
is.
really nice, and I love the before and after. So you take what seem to be very ordinary women who just want some really nice photos and you make them look incredible. How did that all come about?
Yeah, so along my journey of doing photography and realizing actually I would love to do this as a living, which means I'm using my talent as well as, helping people, see themselves in a better light, documenting themselves. So when I wanted to go full time with it, I sort of thought, okay, let me look at the genres that would allow
Mm,
me to like, gain a full-time income. So through my research initially, I stumbled on boudoir photography. So I think it's something I probably must have seen in the movies or on the media, whatever, but
um,
didn't really think that was a photography genre. You just know, oh yeah, they're glamour portraits. But when I started doing my research and learning more about it, I learned like the empowering aspect of it, and then doing some tryouts and having some women give that feedback. And then I don't thought thought back to myself. So I hadn't done boudoir, but I had done like a semi-nude shoot, which was
Hmm.
more about me when I was 25, just embracing my body because I'd finally reached a stage. So I basically read a story from like a footballer's wife. I don't remember her name now, in a magazine, and she was talking about, she's this slim, tall, conventional, beautiful woman, and she was talking
Mhm.
about how she has struggled with body image, and she was at a point much older now where she's just accepted herself. And I was just like, what do you mean you're beautiful? And it just
Yeah,
dawned on me, we all have those struggles, no matter how we think we fit the stereotypical beauty standards or not. And I was like, and I love to learn from other people because I think if I can learn from their experiences, why wait till I'm older to learn that
yeah,
lesson? I can,
yeah.
incorporate that now. So I was like, okay, I really need to accept myself and love the body I'm in right now. And so I did that shoot. So that was like an empowering body confidence photo shoot for me. It was like, oh yeah, I actually did that a couple of years ago. And I remember how strong and how amazing it, made me feel. And then it just clicked. I was thinking, so when I wanted to move into full-time photography, I was thinking, in the industry, there's a lot about weddings,
Yeah,
commanding more income, and that way
yeah,
you can be full time. But the way I am, my energy just doesn't resonate with weddings. It's like high energy, bringing lots of people together. It was just a lot long hours. It's just not me.
yeah.
I'm an introvert, which some people find difficult to believe. I can be very shy as well. So in a position where I'm supposed to command the room and tell people, how to pose and how to stand, I was just like, no, I'll be too like worried to do that. And so when I found boudoir, it just clicked. It just made sense.
Right.
It went with my spirit, I would say, and in how I want to also use my art to empower people. I think all of that just aligned. And then there's some other, like, technical aspects of, or should I say functional aspects of boudoir that made sense. So I don't have to be out in the cold. I don't like, you
A
know.
woman after my own heart. Somewhere
Yeah,
warm and cozy.
I
Yes.
can even be in my warm studio all year long. It's also
Yes.
not seasonal, with
Yeah.
weddings. Well, yeah, people do have winter weddings, but it could be quite seasonal. So with boudoir, I can do it, all year through. I shoot with natural light still, so it would have to be in the morning, so that's fine. And so some of
Right.
those things just also fitted with, yeah, I wanted to do, and I just feel like I would love my work to center on women. I feel like the society we live in makes us doubt ourselves a lot, and the way we're socialized. And it's incredible because right now I've worked with hundreds of women of all different body sizes, and no matter how I think they fit the beauty standards, they don't believe it. I would,
Yeah.
to me, what seems like a woman with like a toned abs, like tummy that looks amazing, like what they will call bikini ready. But I'll take
Uh-huh.
some pictures and she'll be like, oh no, I don't like my tummy in there. And I'm like,
What?
wait, what? And so for me, this is helping them start to, like, unravel and peel those layers of where do this
Mm.
thinking come from. So yeah, it's something I really hold dear.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and you can see that you do it with love and passion because the photographs are gorgeous. That natural light thing. Now you've said it, I can now see it. I didn't know what the quality was, but that now I see it when you say that. Thanks for listening, everybody. Did you know at TriCrest we've built a kick-ass culture coach and consultant program? So if you're a business coach or consultant and you're looking for something new, add to your toolbox, or even escape the 9 to 5, join us at our next event. Links in the information on the podcast. See you there. And I had observed that pretty much all your photography focused on women, and your exhibition. Tell us about your exhibition because that was really interesting. It's about frontline workers from lockdown, wasn't it?
Yes,
And
exactly.
how did you find those women, and where did that idea come from?
Yeah, so the idea started during the pandemic itself, where I just found myself in one of my reflective moments and just thinking how there were days where I just couldn't work because there was just a lot going on in the world,
Mm.
not just the the virus COVID itself, but there was a lot of social upheaval in different
Mm.
parts of the world. In America, I'm Nigerian as well. There was a big riot that happened in October
Oh,
2020 where people were killed, unarmed people, and till
oh
date the
no.
government still denies that, even though they're like video evidence. And so there was just a lot going in the world. I was like, what is this world turning into? What's this chaos like?
Mm.
It was just crazy. And yeah, as a photographer, I couldn't work. I wasn't an essential service, so I was at home and stuff. But even if I could work, I remember thinking there was no way I would work for anyone in this. It was just mentally, overwhelming. But then I started to realize, no, people are working, you
Yeah,
know.
they are.
People are like, bus drivers, transports, there's still, transportation, NHS workers, they are literally on the front line of this virus as well, coming in
Yeah,
contact with people every day. I go to the supermarket to shop for food and they are there. Yeah, they're wearing gloves, but still, they're coming in contact with hundreds of people daily. So they are putting themselves at risk. So just thinking about that, I was just like, what? What is it to be in their shoes? Because not only are they worried about this virus, as humans, all of this, energy going on in the world must be affecting them on some level.
yeah,
But how are they able to wake up every morning and still turn up like, everything is right in the world? And I was just like,
yeah,
I would really love to like hear from their experiences. And then knowing women were mostly the child carers, well, mostly the homemakers, and I'm like, when you add those layers on it, we're mostly the ones who take care of older parents as well. When you add those layers in this turmoil going on during the pandemic, how are they coping? So that's where the idea came about, and I really wanted to do it. But of course, 2021, when the lockdown finally ended, I could work again. So my focus was on trying to like, get my own finances going because
yeah,
I was broke. And I'm like,
yeah.
okay,
Know that feeling
yeah,
after then? Yes.
I need to pay my bills.
Hmm.
Um, and then in 2022, I wanted to do it, but there was just a lot going on and I just didn't have the time. And I also wanted to apply for funding. So, anyway, 2023, I was like, this is the year I have to get this going. Otherwise, and like I said, these ideas are in my head. It's like, constantly, literally daily, I'm waking up and thinking about them, envisioning what I want to capture, envisioning the emotions, and just wanting to celebrate the women as well, importantly. And so, anyway, 2023, January, I was like, yep, you have to do it. So, I announced the project. And so, how I found them was like through, so I have a big mailing list of women because of my boudoir work. And so, I posted there and said, I would love to work with like, women who worked in the essential industries. And then I contacted the unions as well and told them to share it with their staff and their members. And then I shared on social media, encouraging followers and friends to share with people who they knew as well. And yeah, it just snowballed from there. And that's how I found the women.
Yeah, you had a was it a funeral embalmer
Yeah,
lady?
yeah. So because I had contacted the funeral services, the union, and
Yeah.
she had like, so graciously was excited and happy about me doing this project. And so shared it on the newsletter and through some other means I forget now with all their members. And through that, yeah, I got someone apply to enter into the project.
That's fabulous. A really interesting project. What kind of response have you had to the exhibition? Because it's in London. It finishes on the
Yeah,
end of March, at the end of
yeah,
March, doesn't it?
yeah, on Sunday. So it's been amazing, and I think it was what I thought would be, where people really wanted to delve and talk about some of these issues but hadn't had the women themselves hadn't had the opportunity to do that. And I think a recurring theme with what a number of them said was that feeling invisible, feeling
Mm.
unappreciated. So even the exhibition, when they came to the private launch, they were so happy, and a few of them told me, thank you for, bringing me part of this project. Like someone like quote, someone like myself would never be invited to something
Yeah.
like this. And I was like, no,
Mm,
like who, no one else, I don't feel any other human is higher than any other human. So
no,
if people can attend exhibition openings, you can definitely attend. And for the
totally.
work you did, I think you need to be celebrated because they played really important roles when, you know, the majority of us are not in essential, services, right? But yeah, so the response has been great from the media as well. And I think people just really recognize and understand, it's a time we want to move away from quickly as a
Yeah,
society. But for me, I feel like you need to pause to reflect, take stock, learn from it, and move on to make sure
yeah,
in another, I don't know, century, if something else happens, like the next generation has something to learn from this. So there are, other policies and things that can be implemented to make sure, everyone is taken care of.
yeah. Yeah, whilst we were in the middle of lockdowns, I remember thinking about all the art and the creativity that would come out of that
Mm,
experience, because when there's that kind of intense, heightened emotion, creative people often draw from that.
yeah.
Did you ever watch the Grace and Perry Channel 4 art program during lockdowns?
No, what was it
Oh,
about?
it was fabulous. He got people from all over the UK, amateur artists, to send in whatever it was that they were creating, whatever, it could be
Okay.
painting, drawing, models, sculptures, and
Mhm.
he would show them on Zoom and talk about them, and then he'd show you around his little workshop and tell
Oh,
you what
okay.
he was working on and stuff. It was one of the most beautiful things during lockdown that I watched.
Hmm.
Um, and really it fed my soul during that period of time
Yeah,
where, our sort of visual kinesthetic and audio senses were curtailed because we were
yeah.
shut in. He kind of kept those
When did,
senses
yeah, going.
open. Yeah, it was fab, actually fab. Um, Tell me about your book. That's a really interesting book. It's called The Returners, is that right?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
returnees.
The
Yeah, so
Returnee.
The Returnees, it's a fiction novel. It's about three British Nigerians who moved from London to Lagos for different reasons. And the
Yeah,
novel covers the first year of them there. And it sort of shows their exploits, finding self, identity, belonging, immersing ones in one's culture, but almost seems, foreign as well, and just
yeah,
relearning. And yeah, and in the midst of that, it's sort of me also telling the story of contemporary Lagos and like the changes happening and really wanting to document life in the country as well. But then I had to throw in a dilemma there where my protagonist sort of needs to find who the paternity of her child is sort of unknown to her. So there's that
right.
mystery, and that's what sort of starts to unravel the book and shows how the three characters connect and how they go on their different paths.
Yeah, and do you divide your time between the UK and Lagos? How does it work for you personally?
Yeah, so not at the moment. That would be
Uh-huh.
my long-term goal to be bicontinental again,
Yeah,
running away from the English winter.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we're all with you with that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But no, for now, I'm mostly based here in London, but
Right,
I travel back to Nigeria every other year.
right.
Unfortunately, since the pandemic, I haven't been back. But the last time I was
Mm.
back was actually I returned January of 2020, and then
Oof,
since the lockdown, I haven't gone back again. But yeah,
right.
maybe next year I think I'll be looking to go and visit.
Yeah, one another member of our team is about to move to Spain. She's moving tomorrow, so we'll have 2 members of our team working and living in Spain. I mean, I'm just like, when do I get to go? I'd quite like to be in Spain, thanks very much. Much
Yeah.
warmer. Oh, right, so what's on the horizon? Because you have a million ideas every minute, I think, Lisa, really,
Yeah.
don't you? Yeah. So
And it's
what's coming up?
I was going to say, and it's quite difficult to juggle them, right? Because while I do this project, I also have to run a business that actually
Yeah.
pays the bills.
Yeah, you do.
Um, yeah. So in terms of what's coming next, so the women on the front lines was the first part of my project called The Marker of a Generation, which is
Ah,
basically looking at life during the pandemic. So the
right.
second part of this project is Mother Resilient. And basically, I'll be focusing again on women, but this time around, pregnant women who gave birth during the pandemic, during one of the restrictions where pregnant women couldn't have a birthing companion or a partner with them during the
Mhm.
birthing process. Yeah, I think this society does lots of injustices to women because
Yeah.
I can't just imagine going through that with no support. So
No.
yeah, so I'll be looking to, interview and work with women who gave birth during 2020 to 2021 under those restricted services, and just
Yeah.
again bringing light to their experiences, giving them that platform to share as well, and then again culminating all of that to celebrate motherhood with a beautiful visual photography shoot. So yeah, that's the
Yeah.
next project.
Amazing. Yeah, it was one of the cruelest things that was, insisted upon, and to this day, I have no idea why anybody thought that was a preventative measure for COVID,
Yeah.
and it just
And there were a lot
was.
of guidelines that said to the contrary, like, no, it's fine to have a partner, but some of the
Yeah,
trust just
yeah,
disregarded and left restrictions. Yeah.
yeah, it was appalling, it really was. I hope those women that had to go through that have been able to recover. I've got
Yeah.
3 children, and I
Okay.
can't imagine what it would have been like to not have my partner with me at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So you're not afraid of tackling tricky subjects, are you?
No, not at all. So I come from a sociology background as well. And while I'm
Ah,
an artist now, so I studied psychology and sociology at university, those still drive my work. So it's still lots of research based, finding the stats and seeing what's going on in society, and then almost like doing my own primary research by talking to the
yeah.
people involved. But of course, I then round it off with a beautiful photo shoot to just help them celebrate themselves, help them feel beautiful and, seen really and valued.
I love that. What an interesting combination. No wonder you work, because it's not I really urge people to go and look at your website. Can you just tell everybody where that website is, where they can find it? What the
Yeah,
address is?
sure. So my website is elizabethokoh.com, which is ELIZABETHOKOH.com.
Yeah, because we can talk about it all day long, but people really need to see that energy, that sensitivity, and that beauty that comes through in your imagery. It's really powerful. I've found you on Instagram as well, and we'll put the links in the show notes. So that's this sort of point in history, and I love the fact that you're recording this and that it will be properly documented. I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic. In terms of your business, where do you want to take that?
Yeah, so for me, it would still be doing boudoir photography, empowering women with photography, writing more books. So again, like when I said it was difficult to juggle because I have some other books on the back burner, but
Ah,
I'm
right.
trying to get this photography project out of the way. So which is
Yeah.
why this year I was like I had to, do women on the front lines. I was also planning to finish the second project this year, but just knowing how things are going and other things I have going on in my personal life, I've had to say, okay, you cannot kill yourself. You need to
No.
like pace yourself. So I envisioned the second photography project being again in an exhibition this time next year again. And once that is done, I can move to my writing. I have like 3 books ideas. I've written the first draft actually of the second
Oh,
manuscript, but I
right.
just need to redraft again. So there's lots coming on the way. So that keeps me busy. But you
Yeah,
said in terms of business, yeah, so photography, and I would really love to do more like commissioned one-off pieces as well. Yeah, starting to want to integrate other like forms into my photography to make it a bit more multimedia.
that
Ah,
was that was my dogs. That
yeah,
was my
yeah,
dogs.
to make
Yeah.
it more multimedia. So that's why I see myself going through, still doing, work that empowers women. And yeah, I love travel.
Here we go. So yeah, all your projects are around empowering women, which I absolutely adore. I think that's fantastic. If your business had a personality or a character, either who would it be or how would you describe it?
Hmm, how the personality? That's an interesting one. So I think it's very eclectic, which is who I
Yeah,
am. So who
yeah.
is that eclectic? Huh. Is it like a celebrity or an actress, or when you
Could
say or a
be,
character? Oh
could
my
be.
gosh, I don't know now. This is a good question, but I don't know if anything comes to mind. I think it would just be a really strong, outspoken woman who sort of fights for others, wants to like, help others to like, better themselves and see they're inherently of value.
Yeah.
Someone who loves to have fun as well, someone who's colorful. Yeah. I think that's what it would be. I don't
I,
know. No one comes to mind really, but I'm sure there's a character that fits that.
I'm kind of having to blend a few characters to get to where you're
Exactly.
at. So I'm kind of blending Vivienne Westwood with Frida Kahlo, with
Mm,
Maya Angelou, with probably a little bit of Oprah in there because some of the stuff you do for people is probably quite healing.
yeah, I
Um,
love I love all those women you've said, and I can see, yeah, that's how one person doesn't come to mind. I
no,
think it's just a blend of, yeah,
yeah,
different things. Yeah.
totally, yeah, huge blend. And I'm going to ask this question. It's one I've added recently, Liz, in that what what drives you? You know, the Hindus call it a dharma, your purpose, your destiny. What do you think yours is in the work that you do?
Yeah. So for me, I love that. I think what really drives me is I'm trying to look for a sentence that would just encapsulate it. I think I would just say maybe it's the love of God, and it's just bringing to light that there is a God who is loving and knowing He cares for everyone and fulfilling His works with my work. So I think initially when you said where my talent comes from, and I said it's observing around me, but also having that love of God within me and knowing I want to like. So I think so. I was brought up a Christian, right? And
Mm,
I think with if you want to say stereotypical Christianity is about talking, doing the talk and talking and preaching, and but I want to live my life. So you look at my life and see the works of my hand and what I'm doing, and it's not just by me alone; it's by God who is sort of
mm.
using me as an instrument to like just bring some positivity into people's life and just playing my small part into like bringing light and love to the world. So yeah, that's sort of what drives me is
Ah,
using the talents and the gifts I've been used to uplift others. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think there's no higher purpose than that, bringing love and light to the world through, as you rightly say, your talents. And it doesn't matter, you know, what you believe, whether you don't believe in anything or you have different
Mm,
religions or whatever it is, but that higher purpose of love and light and bringing that to the world, I think is there's no better way of living your life, is there?
yeah, exactly. No.
Oh, wonderful. What an amazing place to finish, Liz. I'm gonna watch you with eager anticipation because I suspect that your work is suddenly going to take off, and then there's
Oh,
no way I'd be able to get you on my podcast. So I'm really glad I've got in at before you just
oh
accelerate
no.
into the stratosphere. So thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this as well and your questioning and everything. It's been
No,
amazing.
pleasure. Thanks for listening, everybody. Did you know at TriCrest we've built a kick-ass culture coach and consultant program? So if you're a business coach or consultant and you're looking for something new, add to your toolbox, or even escape the 9 to 5, join us at our next event. Links in the information on the podcast. See you there.
The Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass. Where we make it happen, grab your